Within hours of the U.S. strike inside Venezuela and the claim that Nicolás Maduro was captured and flown to the United States, Colombia's President Gustavo Petro went public immediately, warning the world that Venezuela had been attacked, rejecting the violation of sovereignty and ordering forces deployed toward the border. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum condemned the military intervention and explicitly pointed to the UN Charter principle against using force against another state's territorial integrity. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva framed the attack as a dangerous precedent, saying it crossed an unacceptable line and warning it pushes the world toward chaos where power replaces law. Chile's President Gabriel Boric also condemned the military action and called for a peaceful, multilateral route, citing core international law principles, non-intervention, and the prohibition on the use of force. Havana's message was among the hardest. President Miguel Díaz-Canel called the operation state terrorism and a shocking violation of international law, first on social media, then again publicly at a rally. Not everyone condemned it. Argentina's President Javier Milei called it excellent news for what he described as the free world, arguing Venezuela's opposition winner should assume power. Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa urged Venezuelans and opposition leaders to reclaim your country, calling the operation the beginning of a continental collapse of narco networks. Panama's President José Raúl Mulino also backed a transition, saying popular will should prevail and emphasizing an orderly, legitimate transition process. Beijing said it was deeply shocked and strongly condemned the use of force against a sovereign country and its president, calling it hegemonic behavior that violates international law and threatens regional security. Moscow condemned what it called an act of armed aggression, urged de-escalation, and said Venezuela must be guaranteed the right to determine its own destiny without military intervention. Iran's leadership and foreign ministry also denounced the operation as a blatant violation of sovereignty, pairing it with broader resist pressure messaging aimed at domestic and regional audiences. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the UK was not involved, wants to establish facts, and stressed that all parties should uphold international law. The EU's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, said the EU was closely monitoring events, reiterated its position that Maduro lacks legitimacy, and called for restraint and respect for international law, while prioritizing the safety of EU citizens in Venezuela. Spain called for de-escalation and offered to help mediate a peaceful solution. Germany said it was monitoring closely and coordinating through its crisis team and embassy contacts. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister issued a clear statement. The country is not a participant in U.S. military operations and intends to maintain peaceful relations with Venezuela. Guyana said its security architecture is active and forces are monitoring the situation, signaling concern about spillover risk. At the United Nations, the Secretary General's office warned the intervention is a dangerous precedent as the Security Council prepared for emergency discussions. So the world's response is now clear. Major powers condemn the strike as a sovereignty violation. Several regional leaders celebrate it as the fall of a dictatorship, and others brace for spillover while insisting they're not involved. The next flashpoint is the Security Council, because what happens there will determine whether this becomes a one-off raid or a new rule in global power politics. If you want updates as official statements keep rolling in and a clean breakdown of what's real versus propaganda, subscribe and turn on notifications.